My name is Dareen, and I've had the joy of being part of the district church for the past 5 years. My story has been shaped by a question that I first asked in my early teens. It's a question I still wrestle with. I don't have a neat, complete answer, but I believe the Lord is revealing it to me slowly, piece by piece in His time. My question is, what is my role as the follower of Christ? And our role as the church when confronted with injustice? I was born and raised in Cairo, Egypt. Egypt is a predominantly Muslim country, and Christians make up about 14% of the population. I was raised by 2 incredible parents and have 2 siblings who are my ride or die. I would say I was raised in a Christian home, except we probably spent more time at church than we did at home. A typical Friday for us began with breakfast, followed by that familiar tension we all know too well, the scramble to get ready and out the door in time for church. And yes, in Egypt, church is on Friday, not Sunday. Also, that getting ready stress is truly a universal experience. We lived in an apartment, like most families in Egypt do, and shared just one bathroom. So I'll let you imagine how our mornings played out. After that, we would pile in a car and get to church. Of course, that is after some intense conflict resolution over who will have to sit in the middle seat of the back row. But what redeemed those chaotic mornings was the moment we stepped through our church doors. We were greeted with floods of hugs, kisses, and smiles from the security guard at the door to every person we passed on our way to the sanctuary. Church was home. It was a place of deep love, generational friendships, and community. In a wider society that didn't always feel accepting, church was where we encountered Jesus and felt fully seen and known by Him and His people. One of the first times I remember deeply confronting the question of justice was in middle school. During the Arab Spring in 2010, it began with a heartbreaking event in Tunisia. A young street vendor named Muhammad set himself on fire after police officers confiscated his cart and humiliated him. His act of desperation sparked nationwide protest, which quickly spread across the Arab world, including Egypt. Suddenly, everything around me was an upheaval. Millions of people took to the street, crying out for freedom, justice, and an end to decades of authoritarian rule. As a teenager, I was overwhelmed. It was the first time I truly saw the pain caused by systematic inequality, corruption, and oppression. And I was flooded with questions. Why is there such extreme wealth next to such deep poverty? Why do systems meant to protect people cause them harm? How can justice be real if it seems to depend on class, race, or power? How can the world carry on while so many are suffering? In the midst of my many questions and confusion, the Lord met me. I began to understand that my heart was only just starting to break for what breaks His heart infinitely more. He sees every injustice, every tear, and cry for help, and His compassion for His children, His suffering children, moved me in a way I had never experienced before. To this day, the Lord's compassion for those who suffer continues to move me. When the world feels senseless and overwhelming, I look at Him and am reminded that He sees it too. As the protests continued, violence escalated. The streets of my hometown turned into scenes of bloodshed. Hospitals overflowed. Our country's already fragile healthcare system couldn't keep up. People were dying in the streets, and makeshift field hospitals began popping up all around the city. I remembered asking myself, what should our church do in a time like this? Do we open our doors and risk being labeled political? Do we risk becoming a target? Do we risk compromising the one place we've always felt safe? Maybe we can just pray for peace. That should suffice. After all, is that not what we're always called to do? Eventually, after much prayer and deliberation, our church reached a decision. If our doors are not open in times like this, then we're just a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. We're not showing love when it's needed most. So we responded. Through the contributions of people in the congregation, we set up a hospital at our church. Doctors, including my dad, volunteered their time. Everyone, Muslims and Christians, were welcome to find healing and rest. Seeing how the church became a sanctuary, not just for us, but for anyone in need, changed how I see the role of the church. A few years later, in December 2016, another moment shook us. A suicide bombing during a Christmas service at St. Peter and St. Paul's Church in Cairo killed 29 people. This is all information you can get from the news. But what did that really mean for my family and community? How are we expected to react to such news? While we were grieving this tragedy, we couldn't help but wonder if our church was next. New Year's Eve was coming up. Normally, it was one of the biggest events at our church. We'd ring in the new year in the sanctuary, then head to a friend's house to celebrate with way too much food and so much laughter. But that year, everything felt different. A few days before the New Year's, the church sent out a message saying, "We're still holding the service, but the church street will be closed. There will be metal detectors at the church doors. No lingering after the service, and the service will be shorter than usual." These measures, in theory, should make us feel safer, but they only magnified our fear. Should we go or should we stay home? After days of going back and forth about whether to attend, my parents ultimately decided that not attending church would signify complacency and a concession to injustice instead of a declaration of faith. I still remember standing in the entryway of our apartment, waiting for the elevator to reach our floor, thinking to myself, wow, we're really doing this. Much later, my mom told me what she was thinking about during that time. She said, "I was so scared, I kept thinking, am I taking my children to the place where they might be killed?" But we decided to go anyway. I learned a lot from my parents' response and how they chose to stand firm in their faith and not shrink back in fear. That night we worshiped, more aware than ever of the cost and the courage it sometimes takes to follow Jesus. One day, my kids will ask me how I responded to the injustice I'm living through today. And I refuse for my answer to be that I did nothing, but watch from the sidelines. A few months ago, I had the opportunity to visit Israel-Palestine with a group from the district church. There, I got to encounter many peacemakers that are working and contending for peace in Jesus' hometown. While visiting the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, our dear friend John Munire introduced us to an icon of Christ. It's a depiction of Jesus' face divided in two. The left side radiates gentleness and grace, while the right side reveals strength and justice. The icon, rooted in passages like John 1:14, Revelation 1, and Romans 11:22, captures the fullness of who Jesus is: compassionate and powerful, merciful and righteous. I am often tempted to emphasize justice or grace at the expense of the other. However, this icon powerfully reminds me that to truly know Jesus, I must embrace both. Grace and justice are not in opposition. They are both core elements of Jesus' love. So here's where I am today. I now understand that it's not if I engage with injustice, it's how. How do I engage in a way that's faithful to Scripture? How do I reflect Christ without mimicking the division of this world? I don't have all the answers, but each of these experiences have shaped me. God has written my story this way for a reason. That's why I carry this conviction. My role as a Christian and the role of the church is not to turn a blind eye. We are called to open our doors, to love, to advocate, to be peacemakers even when it costs us. Isaiah 1:17 says, "Learn to do right. Seek justice, defend the oppressed, take up the cause of the fatherless, and plead the case of the widow." All of these verbs are action verbs. They're not passive. And the Bible doesn't say seek justice when it's safe or easy. It doesn't say seek justice only when it's convenient or won't offend anyone. Or blessed are the peacekeepers. And it definitely doesn't say only seek justice for those who believe what you believe. But it does say do justice, love your enemy, pray for those who persecute you, and blessed are the peacemakers. One day, Jesus will return and bring perfect justice to the nations. But until that day, we, his church, have work to do, especially during these times.